It looks like AMD has finally done it. They finally came out with a graphics card that I think I will buy over Nvidia. I've had Nvidia and Intel builds for over 15 years. Just the last two builds was one was a 580 and an i5, and then this current build that I have is an i7 and a 1080. I wasn't planning to upgrade my computer or make a new build because I saw that 4090 come out, which is what I wanted. I mean, I might get I had maybe was going to get the 4080, the 16 gig version for 1200, but I'd have to buy a whole new build. I can't just upgrade because the graphics cards are too big. So I was really upset about that, and that put me off. And I was just hoping that AMD would come through with a much cheaper card, and that was my thing. I didn't, my friends thought I was crazy for thinking it was going to be more than $200 cheaper, and that was my thing. Like, AMD isn't going to sway me to buy their product if it's just $200 cheaper than Nvidia, right? I'll go with Nvidia all day if that's the case. I've been using them forever. I know how their shadow play works. I know how their UI works. I know how their drivers update and all that stuff, which isn't a big deal, but it's just a change. And I'm not willing to change for, $200 difference, right? I was hoping for 35% plus a discount on the AMD. And AMD came out with $1,000 for the 7900 XTX, which is what I will get. I'm not too concerned with the XT. I'm all about it. I will likely go full AMD, so I'll get their CPU. I'll get a whole new build, even though I don't have to. That was another big thing. Is AMD came out and said you don't have to have a special connector. It's still the 8 pins, and it's 355 watts, so you probably don't need a new PSU. I think that it's 850 watts power supply that you need, which is what I have anyways. So I wouldn't need to. I don't need a new case. Like this current case, I don't think can fit a 4090. That thing is enormous. I'd have to buy some extra large case. I was just really turned off by Nvidia and the size and the power consumption that it needs. That's just crazy to me. So the XTX is 355 watt. I think AMD is going to take a large portion of market share from Nvidia because of that huge price difference. I think people are going to switch because people who didn't want to build a whole new computer, people didn't want to get a new tower and new everything, and they just wanted the graphics card. Maybe they have up to date everything. My stuff's pretty old, so now with their whole huge price decrease and the savings that I'll get buying the AMD CPU versus an Intel, because Intel's gone up a lot as well. It's probably okay for me to get a new build, a complete new build. When they spoke briefly about the AMD Advantage, I've built all of my PCs. I feel like I bought one from iBuyPower. Yeah, I did buy one build from iBuyPower. It's been like 3 builds ago. And I don't even know if iBuyPower still exists. But I built all of my PCs other than that, and the last 3 I've had some issue with. This current build, I have a EVGA power supply, and I had issues with that. I had to warranty 3 of those power supplies before I got one that worked. It was shutting my computer off over and over again, which was very, very odd. Very hard to determine that it was the power supply. I sent the graphics card in. I sent the memory in. I changed slots. I thought it was the motherboard. I think I sent the motherboard in first. I had a lot of problems with that, and that was not my fault, right? And then the build before that, the graphics card had went out. It was my 580, the EVGA graphics card. It had went out, so I had to send it in and get another one. And I've always had some kind of problem with my build. Not necessarily to say everyone does that. People build and they don't have any issues at all. But with the AMD Advantage, I was like, I'm saving money on the CPU because AMD is cheaper than Intel. I'm saving a lot of money on the graphics card because that 7900 is $600 cheaper than the 4090. And then I'd save money on if I plan to get a new monitor. I want a 32-inch 4K. I currently have a 27-inch 2K G-Sync monitor, and I want a 32-inch 4K, and I'd be able to get a FreeSync, which is cheaper than the G-Sync. And I know that both will work with both. You got to do a few things. I just don't feel like reading what I got to do to get those working on. So I'm happy about that. And with the AMD Advantage, I'm gonna see what their prices are on their desktops. So it'll be fully AMD, built by them, ready to go, and I won't got to do anything except hit the order button. And hopefully they're not overpriced. Typically, when people sell you a build, they kind of overcharge. We'll see how it goes. And I wouldn't have to deal with the hassle if I can just buy from them. I wouldn't have to deal with the hassle of if AMD doesn't can't meet demand on their video cards, like I expect that they cannot, just like Nvidia won't meet on purpose their demand. I'd have to buy secondhand from somebody for some outrageous price to get that graphics card. I'm not going to do that. And another problem with building your own PC that may not have existed ever before, or at least wasn't as bad, is the supply chain. Some of these things that you buy, you may not get for a month. You may have issues getting them. And I really don't, let's say you get it, maybe you get it in a month, and then it is bad, and you got to send it back. Now, you're dealing with huge delays, and I really don't want to deal with that as well. Dealing with delays in shipping and all this stuff and supply chain, as well as dealing with problems that you may have when building your own PC. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm just hoping that the AMD Advantage desktops are, maybe $200 to $300 more than building it myself. I'd really love that. So I'm hoping with that AMD Advantage, I'll be able to get a computer with the 7900 XTX and the AMD CPU, and then I can go buy my own monitor, whatever FreeSync I want, be a little bit cheaper. And I'll save some money just going AMD, and everything will be great. And I plan to do some streaming. And they've come out with that the codec that's been a problem with AMD video cards, which basically no streamer has AMD. They're all Nvidia, because the codec was way better for streaming with Nvidia, and now AMD's trying to compete there, and who knows? It sounds like it's going to be good. We'll see. I'm not going to be a serious streamer, so if it isn't great, it won't bother me much. And this is all just my opinion, and I've had a great time with all my good old Nvidia cards and Intel CPUs, but they've just gotten too overpriced, oversized, and they use too much damn power. So AMD undercut them on that price just enough to switch me over. And if that AMD Advantage desktop, the build, is a good enough price, then I'll go with it. Otherwise, I'll stick with my little 1080 and my 8 and 16-bit games I've been playing, because the AAA games, I haven't really been enjoying them. They've been kind of garbage, so I've been sticking to these indie games. Out here playing Ultima Online, 25-year-old game. I don't know what's going on with these games these days, but that's a whole nother story. But go Team Red.